This episode is brought to you by Lumina Growth Lab. At Lumina, we help professional learning and development companies who are struggling with predictable lead flow, breaking out beyond their network, and a sniper approach to attracting the ideal clients so they can have a smoother sales process, finally have scalability, and ultimately take their business to the next level. Most of the time, our clients come to us frustrated because business has fundamentally changed since the pandemic, and now the disruption of AI. But with the right strategy and support, they're able to confidently add new channels of lead generation, leading to a packed pipeline to create sustainable revenue and year-over-year growth for cheaper than ever before because of the use of AI technologies. If that sounds like you or someone you know, connect with me on LinkedIn and I'd be happy to have a conversation with you about unlocking your business's potential. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to the Marketing Matrix. I'm your host, Lisanne Murphy, and today I am joined by the one and only super talented Kahn. Rich, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me today.
Guys, I am really excited for this conversation and this powerhouse of wealth of experience, and his business is really unique. So I'm really excited to give him an opportunity to dive into that. But before I do so, I want to take a moment to introduce him a little bit more formally. Rich Kahn has 31 years of experience in the industry. As a co-founder and CEO of Onora.io, the digital marketing veteran and serial entrepreneur. Hold on. This did not copy very well.
I'll make a small adjustment. It's 33.
Oh, that's funny. Okay. Roll on. We're gonna actually rewrite this a little bit because I realized I copied it over and it put
Doesn't read right.
I put random R's in places. Okay. So entrepreneur with is Ovich. Is that another company, or is that spelled totally wrong, or what is that?
Ovich?
It says you're so Onora.io is you're a digital marketing veteran and serial entrepreneur with that's what it says even in the form. It says Oveich. A serial entrepreneur with Ovich has established himself as a leading expert.
What that is.
I
had one of my people fill it out.
Okay. So let's see. Okay. So digital marketing veteran and serial entrepreneur. I'm just going to take that out. That has established himself as a leading expert in digital advertising and ad fraud prevention. Okay. All right. We're going to start this introduction piece again. All right. I apologize. I read through all the company titles, but I didn't look at the small print.
No
okay.
worries.
So let me take a moment to introduce this powerhouse business owner. Rich Kahn has 33 years of experience in the industry. As a co-founder and CEO of Onora.io, he's a digital marketing veteran and serial entrepreneur that has established himself as a leading expert in digital advertising and ad fraud prevention. His journey began in 1993, and since then, he's built 5 multi-million-dollar internet companies through bootstrapping. So I am so excited, guys. Get ready, wherever you are, clap your hands, put them together. And Rich, I am just stoked to jump into this conversation with you today.
Awesome.
So, ad fraud prevention is your main gig right now. That's correct?
Yeah, for the last 8 years, 9 years, yeah.
Okay. So tell me about how you got into that. That's such a niche, really important thing, but it's so niche. What's the story of how that came to be your coup de grace right now?
So my wife and I actually started a company back in 2003. It was a digital marketing firm. Kind of like to say it's just a really small version of Google. People can place, text-based ads up on our system. They can target by all kinds of ways and everything else. Anyway, we launched it in 2003. And in 2004, everything was growing nicely. We got a bunch of clients on and making money. And all of a sudden, we started getting some indications from our clients that the traffic quality wasn't what it was. Something was going on. So I started looking at the analytics and kind of uncovered it was fraud. I've dealt with fraud in the past, and I'm like, all right, I know what this is. This is fraud. Let me go find an ad fraud vendor out in the marketplace, license their technology, bolt it onto my platform, and call it a day. That's the simple way to do it, right? Well, in 2000, this is 2004, 2005, they didn't exist. The first commercially available fraud detection solution in the marketplace didn't come out into 2009, I believe it was. So as a developer, I said, well, look, we're going to either lose the company because traffic quality is going to continue to get worse, or we solve the problem. So as a developer, I wrote some software that solved the problem. And then I had to continue to evolve the software as fraud evolved. And I kept doing that. And 10 years later, we're having clients ask, if not beg us, to use the technology outside of our platform, campaign buys on other networks. So we basically tested a client. We just kind of shoehorned a product in to make it work for them. And it worked amazing. So we realized, wow, we're onto something here. So we did some testing. We actually spent six figures of our own money to test our solution. Because at this point now, 10 years later, you're 2012, 13, there are other companies in the marketplace that do some type of fraud detection. So we want to make sure that we're bringing something unique to the market. Otherwise, what's the point? And I figured before I go out and get another second mortgage on my house, although I don't know how many second mortgages you can have, usually become third and fourths, right? Because I knew we had to build out a platform and I needed resources to build it. And one of my skill sets is not raising capital. I've never been successful raising capital, gone down the path several times. It's just not my thing. I'm more of a developer. Let's just get it done. Like, let's proof of concept, get it done. And then everybody comes asking, hey, can I invest in your company? It's like, well, I don't need your money now. So no, right? But so we started doing this. We did the research and found out that we actually had a more accurate solution, because a lot of the companies in the marketplace, their idea of what fraud was just wrong. It wasn't really working right. So we developed one, and we developed it around performance marketing, where you could really tell the difference. For example, like if a lead comes in, that's performance marketing, and you scan, you mark it as bad, but you call the person on the phone and like, no, I filled out your form. I'm looking to save money on my car insurance, or whatever the form was for. The technology was wrong. If you called and the person said, no, I don't know what you're talking about, take me off your list, whatever, then okay, the technology was right. So we did some testing and we used this validation process to compare us against the other competitors. And we were so far more advanced as far as accuracy. We said, we have something here. So we basically took the technology, built it into its own company, spun it off, and then 2017 launched it as a standalone product.
That's amazing.
And here we are today.
I love it. Okay, so let's just do some definitions for people. So what is fraud? Like, how do you define fraud? Like, what are you looking for?
The industry term for fraud, because everyone's always asking, define fraud. Well, there's marriage fraud, there's homeowner fraud, there's credit card fraud, there's all kinds of fraud. So we kind of classified it as ad fraud, but I think the industry has really adopted the term IVT, invalid traffic. So it's traffic that you really don't want, and it's usually generated by bots, malware, or human fraud farms. So it's manufactured traffic to take advantage of the marketing budget. So put it into scale. Last year there was over, now we're in 2026, right? So in 2024, as a global society, we spent over $700 billion in digital marketing. Based on our conservative estimates, 140 billion was stolen by fraudulent actors. So there's a big incentive, and I was laughed because, like, you ever watch Shark Tank and they talk about like the industry, and it's like, oh, we want to get into baby bottle industry, and it's a $10 billion market. There's a lot of money out there. Well, this is 140 billion of lost money. It represents almost 25%, almost a quarter of the industry. So it's a big industry to go after. There's, a handful of solid competitors in the marketplace. Everybody offers something different. We just specialize in the accuracy and thoroughness of a solution, because that's what we really want to focus on. We don't want to worry about vanity metrics and things that don't really matter. Just focus on, is this individual really fraudulent, or are they a real person? And that's what we focus on.
And so do you typically work with like agencies that are driving leads, or do you work with like the companies to qualify and make sure that their leads are actually legit? Like who's the primary end user of your software?
Well, we work with both. I prefer the brand, because they're the ones who are spending and obviously losing money to fraud. So they care, because like if I ask agencies, do you care about, fraudulent traffic and making it to the client? A lot of times I'll hear, well, if the client doesn't complain, I don't have to do anything about it, And then you get the ones that, they do care, because they get, if I deliver better quality traffic, my client's going to spend more money because they're growing. So you have the two different camps of agencies. But every brand, if I ask them, what's your tolerance of fraud, it's zero. They don't want to spend a single penny on fraud. They want to make sure that their dollars go towards producing revenue, having an ROI. And so our goal is, when we focus our marketing efforts, we're really going after the brand.
Interesting. So are there like specific places where like ad dollars are being spent that this works particularly well? Like, is it primarily like with Google and PPC, or with Facebook and impression based ad spend, or is it Like not necessarily e-commerce, but people that have lead forms? Like where are the use cases for it?
Use cases are all over the place, right? We have gaming companies that want to protect the logins. We have survey companies that want to protect surveys, lead generation companies that want to make sure that the lead's being filled out by a real person. The traffic comes from all channels of marketing. So you're talking about, the Googles, Facebooks, you're talking about programmatic, you're talking about affiliate marketing, you're talking about email marketing. I mean, every channel of digital marketing has some effect of fraud. In fact, Google and Facebook probably have the lowest that we've tested. It's still 10%.
Mm,
So you get a company spending $1 million a month in digital marketing, 100,000 is being lost. That's not a small amount of money, even for them. They want to eliminate that or get that as close to zero as possible.
does a company have to be kind of at like a certain size and spend to recognize that this is a problem in the first place? Like,
All companies are affected by it. Because if you're spending money on digital marketing, most of the fraud that we see doesn't target a single individual company. There are some that do, but most of them
mm,
target just in general, everybody, because they can make money from somebody spending $100 a month. If they can make $10 from them, why not? Right? Because again, they're targeting a wide variety of
mhm,
people. But um, before you start getting into the point where you need a fraud solution, most fraud solutions, to pay for themselves, to make it make sense, you've got to be spending 50 or 100,000 a month or more to warrant it, because there's cost involved. I mean, you got
mhm,
human resources, you've got technology, you've got, data lakes and modeling that you got to continue to work on. So as much as hosting a SaaS-based solution is inexpensive, the resources, research and development and support chew up a lot of that revenue.
mhm. Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. And how does your pricing model work? Like, is it like they're paying for a software solution that like you mentioned at the very beginning, like bolts on to wherever they're spending, or like is it like a more of a service that's provided and it's a retainer base? Like how do you work with
Sure.
people?
We basically build packages for people. So the more volume that they have us to scan, the cheaper the scan gets. So if I have a client walking in who needs, 100,000 visitors scanned a month, they're paying one price. And if I have a guy walking in and needs 1 billion, they pay us a smaller price per request
Hmm,
per visitor scan, but they'll pay more in the end because it's just volume based. So it's
sure.
really depending on the volume. And a lot of my competitors do the same thing because you know, it would be great to offer a flat fee and say, hey, I'm going to do this. But if you get a guy walk in and needs, 10 billion scans, it's going to cost you more to run the scans and there's no room for profit. Everybody's
Mhm,
in the business to make money. So you got to build a model that makes sense and scales with the client, because you want to scale as they grow. You want to get them a less cost per visitor
mhm,
scanned. So if you look at a click base, right, on Google, the average cost per click, I think is $2, right? So if initially we're charging 2 cents a visitor, if you're scaling that up, you get down to a penny per CPM, like a penny per 1,000 requests. I mean, it can get really inexpensive
mhm.
because we can economy of scales. We can grow the infrastructure and get the cost down and pass that along to the client.
That's really interesting. I love that. So, and then in our initial conversation, remind me if I got this wrong, but you yourself, like your background as a developer, like you're a tech guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Been around a little bit. I wrote my first game when I was 9. I got published in Compute Gazette which was a magazine, the paper magazines back in the day when I was 12, for writing some code.
Yeah.
Being one of the first windowing systems that the writer saw. So I've been doing this for a long time, and like I said, out of the 5 companies that I've built, I've been the lead developer on all the products in the beginning.
Yeah. No, that
Like
totally makes
as the
sense.
company grows, you can't run a company and be the head developer. It just
Yeah.
doesn't, not enough time in
Yeah.
the day.
So as a developer and like with all that's coming out with AI currently, like what's your thought on vibe coding? Like, is it pretty elementary? Do you like it? Do you think it's changing things? Like, have you used it at all? Like, what's your stance on using like a tool like Replit and vibe coding and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's great to get you, like, all these tools are great to speed the process, right? You want to build a web page. Okay, don't start with the HTML tag and then the body tag. Like it saves a lot of time. And you can build a lot of stuff and get that initial proof of concept up and running very quickly. I've got a friend of mine who laughs, like he doesn't know coding at all, but he says I can write web pages myself now with AI. So it's definitely going to open the doors to allowing people who have an idea and a concept and want to build something like a proof of concept to get it out there. But when
Mhm.
you really start building at scale, I don't think AI is not there yet. It probably will get there, but you got to make stuff your own. Like
Mm.
you just can't rely on AI doing it all for you. It'll get you to
Yeah.
proof of concept and everything else today. Will that change in the future? Sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll get to the point where you'll sit down with your AI agent and say, "This is what I need. Go build it." And then 5 minutes later, it comes back, "Okay, done. Okay, now let's test it." And so you'll spend more time Q&A in the product, making sure it's doing what you want, making sure it didn't miss anything. It's kind of like right now, if I do an AI, picture of myself and I want to change the background and change my professional dress and everything else, face doesn't quite look like my face.
Yeah.
It's just off a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's getting there, and it's getting there fast. So it's definitely going to change the way programming works. I
Yeah.
know our developers will use it for quick proofs of concepts or quick testing benches, or like, well, a client that says, have this new website, then, I need the code to do this. So we'll have AI build out a quick website just to replicate their website, just to get a starting point so we can test it on our test bench,
Mm.
which, we wouldn't have had the time to do before in the past. So it's definitely a great tool to learn how to use.
That's cool. I love that. Um, and how are you? Are you noticing, like, is AI affecting fraud as well?
Sure.
Like, are you seeing the impacts with that?
Tail end of last year, a new AI attack came out that got around all, and I'll call it IVT vendors. I guess that's more of the industry term than fraud vendors, because when I say fraud, it's too general. If I say ad fraud, it's kind of specific to ads. IVT is invalid traffic across the board, so it really covers everything. We saw it because we have clients that use multitude of solutions because they want to know what everybody's thinking, because more heads are better than one. So we've gotten word out, probably in Q3, a new AI attack came out that got around every solution in the marketplace, including us. And our clients are looking to us like, you got to solve this. And I'm like, this is going to take a minute, because what they've done is not attack us, but they're attacking the infrastructure itself, which now we got to account for the infrastructure design. And so we went and revamped the software and rolled something out end of December that solves the problem, and it will solve the problem for future iterations of this new attack that's out. So we're the first ones to roll that out. And there's no talk about any of our competitors having anything remotely close to it yet. I don't know if they just don't talk about it, but like, we've had clients asking, I'm like, nope, we've got a solution. It's just going to take, we got to revamp the entire process of how the code works. So
Hmm.
we rolled it out, solved the problem, had a few hiccups in the process, like any major rollout,
Yeah.
but solved fairly quickly. And our clients rested ease during the holiday break, which was nice.
Yeah. So with something like that, where like you're creating like proprietary solutions for like active threats, like, is that something that like you can patent that, or like are things shifting so quickly, like a patent would be irrelevant like within a couple months because you'd have to shift the.
We're making changes to our core every week.
Mm.
So the core process that we've developed and the one that we just redeveloped could be patented, but then I've got to disclose everything I did. And that makes it easy for competitors to understand what we're doing, and that makes it easy for fraudsters who are building these technologies to get around
Oh,
us.
to get around it.
So I never want to patent our software.
Interesting.
Um, it's just, I've have competitors that have patented part of their process, but they're not going to they're not going to patent their secret sauce,
Hmm.
because they patent their secret sauce, then anybody can go and take a look at exactly what they're doing and replicate it.
Yeah. Oh, that's fascinating. I love it. Um, are there? So I know that like you mentioned, like if you're spending so much, like a solution like this would make sense. But are there particular industries like you've kind of specialized in or dove into because of your network or experience?
Say that again.
Are there particular industries like you've drilled into, like in terms of
Oh,
like the companies that you work with because of your experience? I mean, I'm sure that your software is industry agnostic by nature, but
it really is. It really is industry agnostic, but we've gotten, just because we play a lot in the performance marketing, we've gotten a lot of performance marketing companies, which are like insurance seems to be a big one, because everybody needs insurance, car insurance, health insurance. Everybody needs it. So there's a big use of it. We've done mortgages, again, not as big as insurance, but a lot of people use, and we've gone down the road of legal, like, personal injury and stuff like that. Again, even a smaller market, but higher cost per lead. So they're really focusing on that. But we've done every industry: gaming, surveys. We've done, gaming, casinos. So they're separate than the gaming that I'm thinking of. I mean, every industry that we've come across, we've had universities, famous universities come to us and say, hey, we're advertising to get new students and we're being affected by this. We need your technology. So we've got some major brands that we work with that, you know, home services, stuff like that. Just you name it, we're
Hmm.
in that space.
That's interesting. So, and because you're, what you do is, I don't know, I see it as unique because I've really haven't like dove much into it until I met you. How do you market what you do? Like, are you spending your own ad dollars? Is it primarily referral based and relationships? Like, what are your outreach methods?
And that's the tough part. I'm always trying to figure out better ways to get more people in the door, right? So essentially, I mean, we do a great job of educating the industry. So we have blogs coming out weekly. We have ebooks that come out quarterly. We usually have a year in review of what went on during the year, what changes and things like that. So that drives a lot of SEO to our site. In fact, we use SEMrush. I don't know how many people are familiar with SEMrush, but we use SEMrush heavily to monitor how well we're doing in the space. And I guess we're 9 years now. Over the last 9 years, we've cultivated a large list of terms that focus on what we do. So when people search those terms, we want to know how we rank. So there's something inside of SEMrush called the visibility score. So it takes all the words that you're looking at, compares them against all your competitors. So you spell out all your competitors, and I think we've spelled out about 15 or 20 competitors at this point. And then they compare how we do compared to how they do. And then I rank it on what they call a visibility. I think it's called a visibility score. So our visibility score is about 30%, which I think translates into how often you show up in the top 3 positions when somebody searches one of those,
Hmm.
hundreds of thousands of terms that we're looking at
Mm.
compared to a competitor. And
Hmm.
we're at 30%. Our nearest competitor is like 13%. So SEO is a very strong way for us because people are searching and researching for that material and they're looking for it. They'll come to our site, they'll download ebooks, they'll read the blogs, they'll get educated, and eventually, hopefully they build some trust in our company from that and pick up the phone and call us. We do a lot of trade shows. This year we're slated for, a smaller company as we are, we're slated for 17 trade shows. And it's generally the same group that go to trade shows. So they're going to a trade show probably every 3 weeks. So it's face-to-face communications. People have questions. They don't know. Sometimes they don't know what to look up. We do some paid marketing. We do some Google marketing. We do some LinkedIn marketing. We do a lot of, I'll take these podcasts, for example. We'll post a lot of shorts, which help build the reputation for us. And we get people that'll say, hey, I saw a video, an obscure video that was posted 2 years ago of you. And we listened to it. And it's like exactly the problem we're having. Can we talk? So those are the general ways. And we have some salespeople that do outbound, reaching, like, account-based marketing, where they'll pick 100 accounts for the quarter and they'll just try to get them on the phone, because 9 times out of 10, people don't realize they have this problem. Like you said, you've been in the space for a while and you weren't really understanding this, the fraud space. Meanwhile, it's been going on for decades, right?
Yeah.
It's just not something people talk about.
Yeah.
Who are the big
Well,
players in the space? Google, Facebook, they don't talk about it.
yeah, well, not only, well, and I mean that's kind of obvious why, but I also think, I guess for me it's like it was just part of the game. Does that make sense? That like that I didn't really understand that like there was a solution. It was just like, yeah, like you're gonna have some phony stuff. There's gonna be some bots, and so it's why you
Cost of
need
doing
to.
business.
Yeah, exactly,
Well,
exactly.
here's an example. In marketing, and I'm not going to say digital marketing, in marketing as a whole, people are kind of used to, it's the cost of doing business. And I'll give you an example. Maybe 10 or 20 years ago, every time you walked out of a hotel room, on the floor in front of your door was a USA Today paper, right? You were counted as a reader. Now you're
Yeah,
on vacation. Most people just take it and toss it in the room and don't read it because they're on vacation. And the last thing you want to do is focus on a newspaper, but you had people that would read it. But every person was counted as a reader. And that was one of the reasons why every hotel, every major hotel chain had a USA Today paper put on the foot of the door of every single one. And it was just the cost of doing business, right? Because you just
interesting.
expected that the audience wasn't really exactly how many people are reading the paper. It's just how many people got the paper delivered.
Yeah,
So he was kind of used to that. So when the digital marketing space came, once fraud hit the scene, it's kind of the cost of doing business. No, it's not. You can eliminate it. You can get rid of it, and you can make your campaigns way more ROI sensitive. Everything's more trackable. Like back then with a paper, you couldn't track which people actually saw the paper or not because they didn't segregate that.
Mm,
In the digital space, everything's micro trackable. So you know exactly what page they came from, how much time they spent on your site. Like they have all this detailed data. And we know, like with our data, we know this person hit your site. As soon as they hit the site, we know if they're real or not. So you can decide how to include them in your analytics, exclude them from your analytics,
mm,
whatever it is you need so that you can make smarter decisions.
that's really cool. So what is the ROI typically on fraud prevention? So you mentioned like you can get it to a point where it's just a couple cents per impression.
I mean,
Um,
for the most part, we say it's an average of 25% lift in performance.
Interesting.
So it depends on what you're spending. If you're spending money on a local landscaper, maybe he's paying $4 or $5 a click and he's got to pay 2 cents or a penny to us, depending on what, package he's on. And then you get a major company who might be spending money on uh, injury lawsuits where they're spending $100 or $200 to generate a single lead, so, and then there's some this was way back when, but they still do it today. It's mesothelioma. It's a weird cancer from asbestos that, broke the bank on Google and broke past the $20 limit. Now there's still $150 a keyword just for a click because the back end conversion, when it does happen, is worth so much money. So
Mhm.
it really depends. The ROI will be different for everybody, but we generally will see a 25% lift in performance because if we know on average 25% of the traffic is fraudulent, if you can eliminate that and take that budget, invest it in real traffic,
Mhm.
there's your ROI.
And does that typically like translate directly to like 25% lift in revenue because the traffic is that much better or not
I think
necessarily?
I did the math one time on it, and I think it was like 37.5% because you take that 24% loss, which is producing no real revenue, spend it on real audience, and they're actually generating the revenue. So it's not just a 25% lift in performance, it's the performance on top of that
Right.
that you're seeing also. So
Right.
it's significantly more and will depend on what the ROI is for a client on good traffic. So
Yeah.
they calculate the ROI on the good traffic, and then you mix in this 25% because your ROI is basically calculated on the total spend, right? Then you take out the stuff that's not performing. So you get down to the stuff ROIs are automatically higher. And then you take that money that's not generating any money and starts making more money.
Hmm.
So I started doing the math on it. I'm like, I got lost.
Yeah, because I mean, there's so many individual components, and I'm sure it's company specific as well, depending on the pieces of their sales process and stuff.
Yeah.
But the point is getting good traffic is king, and it really
Yeah.
matters. That's awesome. Okay, so at the time of this recording, we're at the very beginning of January. What's on the horizon for you guys and your company for 2026? What are you
Well,
primarily
the nice
going
thing is
into?
the new development that we came up with was a complete rewrite of the entire process of how we do things. And my team already came back to me and they already got 3 years worth of work ahead of them. It's all the new stuff that will come out that we need to defend against, and the new software that we built will actually protect against it with minor updates. So there's a lot of data that has to be collected. There's a lot of additions that have to be rolled out, but this new process that really revamped it. So we're going to see we were always, according to our clients, leading the front on how we're catching fraud versus our competitors. This just leapfrogs us into a whole new dimension for us. So
Mm,
now it's just a matter of getting that word out and driving in more clients. Like I said, for the most part, um, it's mostly inbound for us because that's when people really care about it. Like they start talking to people. And then of course the referrals, we get a lot of referrals because number one way people, sign up for new technology is through, friends. Like, hey, I'm having this problem. What did you use to solve it?
mhm.
Our name comes up and then we've got a new potential client.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love it. Well, I'm excited for you. Well, and I imagine like because your company, and correct me if I'm wrong, but because your company is software based, like you scaling your company isn't like as challenging as like a consulting company where like you're always limited by the human capital that's able to like go in and
To a
work.
degree. Yeah. So if I get, new clients coming in, the support of the technology is fairly simple. It's self-growing. So we were on break and all of a sudden I got alerts that, traffic jumped up because fourth quarter spend, people are probably ramping things up. And we have a lot of clients. We represent billions of dollars a year in digital marketing spend, that we're protecting. And we all of a sudden started getting scaling notices that our servers were scaling. So the system self-recognized that it needed more resources and automatically added them in without anybody being there to do it. However, as we grow our client base, we're big on communication with our clients.
Mm.
We have regular meetings with the clients. We have regular support tickets. Like our support process requires that my team gets back to a client within 1 business hour. So that when somebody calls up with a question, because it's unheard of in the industry, most of my competitors, they outsource their support to different countries. So there's a time delay, then there's a queue, and then usually the response is a day or two, 3, 4, sometimes a week later. And then because it's overseas, sometimes they didn't understand the question properly. They have to get clarification. We want our customers to get the questions answered right away.
That's
So
awesome.
9 times out of 10, it'll be if it's simple, we'll get back an email, we'll get them back a video to explain what we're doing, custom video that was made around their data. But for us, it's really, there's a lot of human resources involved in supporting our client base. And that's just how we want to be. Like, I want to be able to have communication with my clients because I'm learning from them, right? Sometimes they'll tell me, hey, I think we might have missed some fraud that goes into our system. We have machine learning that's going and constantly looking at stuff, but we only get to see the visitor for 1 second to make a
Mm.
decision. My clients get to see the back end data, them playing a game, them filling out forms, them reading blogs. They have all this rich back end data. And we have a good percentage of our clients that feed that data back to us, some in real time, to help us learn and grow the system faster.
I love that. That's so cool. Fantastic. Um, so, and then just on like on a personal note, you seem like a very curious guy and one that enjoys learning. What are like some of the things that you're digging into personally this year, whether it's like a concept you're really wanting to understand or a skill set you're wanting to build or a book that you're reading for a particular purpose? Like what are you personally noodling on right now?
Right now, my goal this year is to really dig into AI more. Um, yeah, I use ChatGPT like everybody else. I use it for a lot of advanced things, but there's so many other models out there that I want to play with. So my goal this year is to pick up 2 new tools a month, play with them, learn them, because I want to learn. I mean, it's growing fast, and I want to be able to. You know, I always tell people I'm so busy working on my company and dealing with employees and stuff like that I don't get a chance to play on the
Mhm.
internet. So my company's at a stage now where I was out for a couple months because of some recovering from some surgery, and company ran without skipping a beat. And it was the first time that I was forced to do that, and everything went fine. So now I'm
You
like,
you got
okay.
you got a taste of freedom, and you're like, okay,
So now I can spend more time, like, working on the business, which is what I want to focus on this year. But at the same token, learning new stuff. And one of the things I want to really focus on because it's growing so fast is AI. And it's interesting because, um, I originally got accepted to MIT for the robotics engineering course, and I wanted to focus on robots, but at the time I couldn't afford to go to MIT. And I really looked at the space and the guy making the most amount of money in the robotic space, because robots back in the 90s was the technology, the components weren't there. AI has really given robots the opportunity to progress a lot faster.
well,
And so now the robots that you're seeing the Optimus from Tesla, you're seeing all these other cool robots that are coming out. Just the fact that they're able to walk around, didn't require somebody to write every line of code of how to handle every step. It's all being trained through AI, and AI is writing all the code to do it. So now's the time that I wish, kind of hindsight, I wish I was still in the robotics, because it would love to be part of that, developing this technology. But for now, since I'm in the space that I'm in, like I said, what I'd like to do is focus on playing with a bunch of the AI. So this will be my opportunity to play with,
that's cool.
a lot of the AI tools that are in the marketplace.
I love that. Yeah, yeah. The autonomous robots. I'm working with a innovation company currently, and some of the AI robotic solutions that they're working on for companies is mind blowing. Like just
Mhm.
absolutely mind blowing. Whether it's in the agriculture space or in like some of the big tech companies right now, like it really it's just so cool. It's so cool to see, and so I love that you're like, okay, we're gotta keep up on this and do the AI research in my own realm. Do you have a
Mhm.
couple tools that you're, like, wanting to start with that you've got your eyes set on?
No, I have I saw a couple courses on getting, like the bird's eye, because I like, when I learn something, I want the bird's eye view. Like back in the day used to be the dummies books, right? I'm
Mhm.
going to learn a new language, so I'd bang out a book in an hour, just get through it really quick, just to get the bird's eye view of how the whole thing works and comes together, and then dive into like a cookbook or a detailed book and
Yeah.
read 3 or 4 or 5 of those over the weekend to really dig in and learn. So I've got a list that I pulled from some places. These are some of the new tools in the marketplace. So I'm just going to kind of get the bird's eye view on what's going on in the landscape, and then
Mm.
start drilling into each tool. Pick 2 tools. I haven't picked them yet. Just getting back from the holiday break, so be looking at picking those probably the next week or two and start digging in.
That's awesome. Well, I'm definitely going to follow up and see what you choose, because I always find it's interesting, like especially with like the AI tech, like with you as a developer, like what attracts your eye, right? Because like someone that doesn't have a tech background, like what's going to attract them is going to be different than someone that has a developer background. So I'm sure that what you choose was going to be interesting.
Like I said, I'm just curious to play. Like I said, I'm
Yeah.
just for all the years I've been in the digital marketing space running companies, people come to me and say, "Oh, have you seen this?" And I'm like, "No, I haven't." They're like, "Where you been?" I'm like, "Working on my business." So I just generally didn't have time to play, but now the team has, we have enough department heads and the company running, succinctly, and we have all the management that we have to do. It gives me the time to, play with some of those and see if any of them can be useful within the company.
Yeah. I love it. So cool. All right. This conversation has been seriously so delightful and really educational for me as well, which those are some of my favorite types of conversations where I get to learn a lot. And so I really appreciate you taking the time to communicate your expertise and share your passion that you have for the companies that you built, and also just mad respect for like someone else who's on the bootstrapping journey. I have a firm belief in that as well myself, and so to meet someone else that's focused on that is just it's great to communicate with like minds. So thank you so much for everything you've brought onto the podcast today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It was fun.
So for people that want to follow you, find your blogs, find your company, get more information on ad fraud, where do they go?
First place to go is Anora.io. We have actually, I think it's the industry's only comprehensive guide to ad fraud. When you first log into the page, it's right at the top. It's a little strip that just says, "Hey, by the way, you can download this resource. It's free." We have tons of ebooks, tons of blogs. We're pushing out new, I think it's 2 or 3 blogs a week at this point. So we have a lot of material that's going on there. If you want to learn, it's a great place to learn. If you want to follow me, generally LinkedIn is my go-to social network because it's more business. I find there's no political talk. There's no craziness. It's generally more or less, geared around business and stuff like that. So that's my you follow me on, I'm easy to find, Rich Kahn, easy to find. So
Okay, perfect. Guys, I'm going to link Rich's website as well as his social media LinkedIn profile in the episode notes, so you can link out to those directly. And I hope that you take advantage of that. And regardless of the size of your company, it's something you should be thinking of and making a plan for. It's something I'm going to look at specifically for my agency as well. And so I'm looking forward to doing that. And so just thank you so much again, Rich. It's been a pleasure having you. And for those that are listening today, we know that your time is valuable, so for you to choose to spend a few moments with us means the absolute world. So until next time on the Marketing Matrix.